attorney at law, and she's also a specialist in a lot of really important areas. But namely, she talks a lot about starting businesses and how to get your business off the ground. And in fact, I've been trying to figure out a way to finagle her into the Black Business School so that she could talk with the students on a regular basis. And I know that's going to happen. This is going to take some.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's going to take some convincing because she's got a really busy schedule. So Nicole, let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your business, your firm, and just kind of what you do in general.
Whew. My friends and family joke around and say I'm Jamaican. I got 10 jobs, man. But no, I do have my law degree as well as my master's in business administration with a focus in entrepreneurship, as well as a couple of classes away from Walden University, who's being sued right now for a master's in higher education with a focus in adult and online learning. I do a little bit of everything, but I'm not a jack of all trades. My real passion is for helping people, definitely for marketing. I come from two parents who have both been entrepreneurs and started their own businesses. So from being a little bitty girl, I got to see how business worked from the owner's perspective and being a small business owner and starting up businesses. So I use my law degree frequently to look at the legal side of starting up a business and making sure your business stays legal, and then also to have the business background to go with it. But I'm not a do as I say kind of person. I don't throw out theories. The things that I teach when I coach and when I talk to my students are things that I had to learn the hard way, because not everything that you learn in business will be learned out of a book. Most times you end up learning it the hard way, just jumping in and doing it. So much of the stuff that we'll talk about today are lessons that I picked up from my coaching clients coming to me, asking me, questions, as well as having to litigate some of the business issues. And myself, as recently as last year, I started a new business in Louisville, Kentucky, doing supervised visitation and exchanges. There's not too many of those around, definitely not in Louisville as a for-profit business. So each day I learn something new, I jot it down, and I make sure that I pass that wisdom on to others who are trying to start their businesses and run their businesses legally.
Okay. So Nicole Taylor Compton, what's the name of your business in Louisville that you have?
The business in Louisville is Ace's Place. It's Ace's Place Supervised Visitation and Exchange Center. And if you know somebody who the ex and you don't get along, or your friend has a baby mama or a baby daddy, they can't exchange because they can't get along, or they cannot, they need somebody to do supervised visits, check us out at acesplace.org. It's actually named after my grandson. So my disclaimer today is he's home with suspected chicken pox. So if you hear cartoons in the background, he's somewhere around here.
I know, and it's so funny. I'm looking at the comments, and people don't believe that you're a grandmother. They're like, no,
yes,
you can't be a grandmother.
Most times when they see me with my 22-year-old son, they think that I'm his girlfriend most times. No, not his girlfriend. I have to argue people in the airport. No, this really is my grandson.
Wow.
And show them proof. But I contributed to godly living and great genes. Thank you, Mom.
Well, we know that black don't crack, so I think that's a heck of a compliment for people to not just really literally not believe you when you say you're a grandmother. And then if you were to try to go into a club, you don't come up with like a club.
Oh.
But I imagine you would get carded all the time and all that. That's good. I think that's a hell of a compliment. So, okay, so let me ask you this. Let's jump into some of this. And I want everybody to know, by the way, Nicole is an attorney, a seasoned attorney, very, very smart. She's ran for judge twice. She also is an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur who started a lot of businesses and done a lot of really interesting things. She's actually going to be on one of the panels at the All Black National Convention. So if you want to come to the All Black National Convention, these are the kinds of people that you get a chance to meet. Smart Black people who care about the community, who want to help you, who want to learn and teach and advice, all the way around. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. It's going to be extraordinary, explosive. Now, Nicole, let me jump into some of this. Okay. you know, in our Black Money 103 class in the Black Business School, we have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that are trying to start businesses, trying to get it off the ground, and they've been convinced that starting a business is important. And a lot of people say, well, I want to start a business, I just don't know what to do. It's too hard. I'm too scared. You know, what would you say to a person who just says, you know, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I just don't know where to begin? What would you say to that person?
I would say three things. The first thing is find a mentor. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, so don't be scared. Many people are scared to get a business coach or a mentor because they think they either can't afford it or that nobody will give them that help. But there are plenty of resources out there. You just have to tap into them. The second one is have a solid plan. Most times when I work with entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, they think that they can sell everything to everybody. You really need to narrow down what your product is, what your niche is, and what your goal is. I always say start with the end game. You know, figure out what it is you want to do. Are you doing this business because this is going to be your bread and butter? Is it a side hustle that you're only going to worry about every once in a while, or are you all in? So you need to figure that out. And the third thing is to try to educate yourself. Well, planning and educate kind of go hand in hand for me. So once you've planned out that, you know, what your niche is, what your product is, educate yourself. You want to look at who your competitors are, how they do it, because you either need to be better, you need to be first, you need to be the best, or you need to be different. So you want to be differentiate yourself from what's already out there. So you want to make sure that just because you had a good idea or you thought that, hey, this might be a good business, before you spend your whole life savings, educate yourself and do your research before you ever launch.
All right. And, you know, and I agree with you. I think that a lot of times we tend to be limited by what we know, and we think that that's all that there is. And we don't understand that there are a lot of people who know a lot of things we don't know, but you got to ask for help. You got to reach out, and you got to be willing to invest in yourself. You can't just
right
that you're going to magically get all the information that you need to move forward. You know, you don't want to just marinate in a pool of ignorance, because we're all ignorant about something, you know, and so we can sit there in a pool of ignorance and say, okay, I'm limited by the fact that I don't know anything and I don't know what to do, and so I'm not going to do anything. Well, there are people out there that know all this. They've written books on it, classes on it, they coach people on it.
Spend 6 figures on degrees on it.
Yeah, right. That's it.
Put it into practice, right.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I think that's another funny point to jump into. Like, people will spend money on education if it's like that, you know, that guy's university down the street, University of Delaware or something like that. And what they understand is they'll get these, you know, you and I both taught classes like through the years, and they don't understand, like, you'll get that business degree and have no clue how to start a business. If I did a poll,
it was like that. It's like that with law school. Many people think that when you go to law school that you're going to come out and be the next Johnny Cochran. You know, it gives you the theories and kind of how laws came about and that kind of thing. But to actually have the practical experience, if you don't plan that in your own curriculum by doing internships and getting mentors who are doing what you want to do, then you have no clue. So my challenge to myself when I came out with my law degree and passed the bar on the first time, I went to see who was the smartest attorney that I knew, and I asked him to take me under his wing and mentor me, because I didn't know how to write a motion. Where do you go file cases? I had no clue. I just had all of these theories. So nowadays with, you know, like the Black Business School and entities like that, where you have people who are out there, they're doing it and they can say, okay, this is what the book says the theory is. This is what it really looks like when you put it into play. And while the theory is good, this is what really makes sense and what makes sense for your business.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really true. You know, I personally believe, I mean, the Black people I know, we can't afford to live in the world of theory for our whole life. You know, we got to get in the real world and deal with real world stuff. And I think that, you know, it's unfortunate.
The paper degree is only going to get you so far nowadays. As a professor of master's and PhD level students, give me 1 second. There you go.
Oh, she's got to take care of the baby.
There goes the 2-year-old. Sorry.
She's being the extraordinary grandmother that she is. But
go on.
Take your time.
So what I was going to say is, I've lost some faith in the educational system. A paper degree doesn't mean as much to me anymore now that I've taught in academia, and I've seen, you know, where they'll be a little bit lenient so that they can get another dollar instead of being as discriminatory as to who gets in, and making sure that you're doing the work that you're supposed to be doing and not plagiarizing and that kind of thing. So for me, I'd rather have someone who has, you know, true knowledge of how things work than necessarily just a paper degree and some book knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, and I think that that's so interesting too, that we, and I guess it's because we have the availability of so much debt, you know, but people will go to school and they'll spend $20,000-$30,000 a year and get the degree. And most business school students that I remember teaching at Syracuse, if you ask any of them, most of them, if you say, okay, you want to start a business, go start a business, what do you do first? They wouldn't have a clue, you know. And what they don't realize is
Right.
that the business school in the traditional universities, and even some of our HBCUs, it's trained to make you an employee. It's trained to give you a certification so that if you go to somebody else's business, you can say,
you can make them millions.
Right, I can make money for you. I can, you know, I can be a good servant to you. You're not trained to be the boss, you know, unless maybe you go to the elite schools, then they train you to actually
Right.
manage other people, you know. And so let me ask you this: if people kind of, you know, we're thinking about just the steps from a legal standpoint of how to properly structure the business, what a couple of things they might want to think about? You know, I know you're an attorney, you know, you've been practicing law for a long time. What are some of the biggest legal mistakes that you've seen people make when it comes to running a business?
Not getting an attorney. Most people think, you know, I wrote down a list of, okay, I'll make sure to talk about these topics. So I'll start with the end. Most people are afraid to hire a professional. They say, I'm going to start a business, but I cannot afford an attorney. Many times people think that attorneys are expensive. They're only in it for the money. They're not really going to help me. But I tell people, not just in my business cases, but let's say in divorce, there are certain things that you can do on your own. You know, a legal professional, an attorney, is a Juris Doctor. Just like you have your medical doctor and you have your dentistry doctor. You know, if you have a baby tooth in your child, or your child has a baby tooth, you can easily pull that. You have you know, a toothache, you can put some Anbesol on it and keep moving. You have a cut, you can put a Band-Aid on it, some Neosporin, clean it up and be okay. If you need your appendix taken out or if you need a root canal, you're not going to attempt to do that yourself. So it's the same thing with business and law. Sometimes you have to go to a professional, and it's a lot less costly if you invest that money up front, have them set it up for you correctly, and then move forward than it is for you to try to do yourself or ask Joe Blow down the street. Well, my friend at the barbershop, they said they did it this way, and then you follow that and it gets you in trouble in the long run. So the first thing is CPAs, you know, accountants and attorneys, they're there and they're educated, and majority of the time they've seen enough of things go wrong to steer you the right way. So the first thing would be to seek professional help. Beyond that, the next thing for me is I have many clients and even older seasoned people that I thought were professionals that have come to me and said, you know, I'm going to start this business and I wanted it to be called ABC Inc. So that I'm going to incorporate as a corporation. And then I listen to what they say, and that's not the appropriate business structure for what they're trying to do. And so when you look at it, you look at, you know, sole proprietorship, you look at LLC, you look at an S Corp, you know, a regular corporation, a LLP, you know, a partnership. People see all of this alphabet soup and they pick one and says, you know, that sounds like it's right on the, you know, I like it on the back of my name. Or they just assume that an LLC is the best thing for them, and it's not. So a legal professional will be able to tell you, but even if you don't have the resources or the confidence to go to a legal professional, there is enough free information on, like, you know, Small Business Association's website and YouTube videos even that will walk you through what's the difference. And each different structure comes along with a different taxation structure as well. So if you choose to be an S corp, you're going to be taxed differently than if you stay as a sole proprietor and don't incorporate it all. So a professional will be able to walk you through, you know, those steps. But if not, at least educate yourself on what's the best way to form your business. But beyond that, I always tell people to start with the end game in mind. Many times people go into partnerships and go into businesses with family or friends because they think that they have common interests and they're headed the same way. And so in the beginning, everything is friendly, but everything never stays friendly. When you deal with money and assets, there's gonna come a fork in the road. And if you don't have the right agreements and the right structure up front, it's gonna put you, I've seen companies have to bankrupt and companies have to dissolve and people having to sue their family members and partners over bad planning. And so you want, you know, those are some of the things that professionals can help you with, but you want to look at, you know, what your bylaws say, what do your articles of incorporation say, are your, sorry, that was grandbaby trying to get in my lap. Yes, and I'm having to use not the camera that I want to use, so I apologize.
Okay, that is all right.
Oh, no, it doesn't want to do. Give me 1 second. Let me get this back online.
Oh, it's all right. I'll tell people who I'm talking to while you get that ready. Everybody, I'm talking to grandmother Nicole Taylor Compton, who is a brilliant lawyer. She doesn't mention also that she happened to have a child pretty young, and a lot of people wanted to write her off, but she actually went to law school and she got a JD and an MBA at an early age. And she ran for judge twice. She runs, you know, she's run several businesses, and is just really hardworking, effective person. And as you can tell, she's a great resource and knows her stuff. Very, very smart. In fact, in her family, how many valedictorians did you have in your family?
The 4 sisters that were under me consecutively were valedictorians of their school. They were ready for the Taylors to leave.
So you have 4 sisters that were valedictorians, which I don't know about y'all.
Right.
Y'all tell me in the comments. Let me know if you know anybody, any other families have 4 siblings that all became valedictorians in high school. So she actually pulled that off, and she's chasing the baby around. I'll brag about her. She's actually going to be at the All Black National Convention on one of our panels, and so. These are the kinds of people that will be there, along with Jay Morrison and Willie D from the Ghetto Boys, who's now a great activist, Dr. Roosevelt Mitchell III, Dr. Tyrus Selden, just a lot of really extraordinary people. So if you haven't got your tickets for the All Black National Convention, you don't know what you're missing, you should go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. Our theme is building our own. You know, I just saw a study, maybe you can speak to this, Nicole. I saw a study the other day that said that racism in hiring is at the same level that it was in 1989, that it has not gotten better since 1989. So these companies out here that we all run around chasing jobs for, jobs with, they don't want us. You know, they don't like us. They don't want, you know, they're not welcoming us. And you have millions of people around.
And it doesn't even have to be intentional. If you're not used to, if you don't have a diverse community, then you're not used to hanging with a diverse group of people or dealing with minorities, you're intimidated, and you're more likely, just human nature, to hire somebody that you like, somebody that you're familiar with, somebody that has views like you and look like you. So even if it's not intentional racism, it does happen. That's why it's beautiful. I love being an entrepreneur because I am able to train people how to be entrepreneurs as well. And I'm able to give jobs to those who otherwise wouldn't have a chance. I'm all about, you know, being a teen mom and then going to being an attorney and a business owner and a TV show host. That was, you know, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have second chances. So I love being able to give jobs to people so that they can have a second chance, and teaching them that, you know, having your own business is freedom. Most people think, oh no, well, I like having my check come every week. Well, the honest to God truth is your check might not come every week. I'm in Florida right now, and many of the companies shut down for Irma. If you're an hourly worker, guess what? You didn't get paid for 2 weeks while everything else was shut down. And so if you have your own business, or if you have a source of passive income, you can continue living and surviving. You know, that's what got me through the hurricane. I had a business. So even if I'm not making money in South Florida, I'm continuing to make money. So, you know, the racism may not always be intentional racism, but, you know, I see it in corporate America.
Well, the racism is not going away. You know, think about that. 1989 is almost 30 years ago. So, you know, given that nobody's really trying to do anything to fix any of that, 30 years from now, they'll be, I guarantee 30 years from now, they're going to be writing the same report. They're going to be like, oh, it's 2047 and things are just as bad as they were in 2017. And you got to ask, do you want your children and grandchildren to go through that? Do you want them to be stuck? You know, do you want them to be stuck in a world where they got no options, or do you want them to have options? And the options are, you know, investing, ownership, et cetera. Like right now, we're actually trying to develop a digital school for Black children. And I just, you know, I told them that, I said, look, when we teach these kids, when we talk about making money, we're not even going to really talk about getting a job. We'll let them find that out on their own. They'll find that out from somebody else. We're going to start with the pillars of wealth building: owning stocks and bonds, owning real estate, and starting businesses. Every single child will know how to start a business, because Black people have to build our own stuff. We can't lean on stuff that's owned by people like us. You know, that's like the Asians depending on the Arabs to create jobs for Chinese people. The Arabs are like, we're not going to create jobs for you. We're going to create jobs for our own. You know, and I think Black people didn't get the memo, and we kind of get it wrong. You know, so let me ask you. I see you got the little one. And me, you can talk at a time where, you know, you're not so.
Well, I thought at 12. Well, I didn't plan on having him. I think he has chicken pox, so he's home with me. But 12 o'clock is usually nap time, and I think he's like, what is Nana over there doing? So, but we can continue. He's right here next to me, so you'll see me look over, like, you know, just to make sure. I don't want him to hurt himself or anything, but he's pretty self-sufficient and intelligent. He's okay.
Well, you know, it's all good. I mean, because we're gonna talk more. In fact, I'm gonna get you in the Black Business School, because I want you to be a part of some of our programs. Because I don't know if anybody out here who's watching who wants to be an entrepreneur, we actually have a program on how to build a Black business. And we call it How to Build a Strong Black Business. Specifically, we use the word Black because I believe that building a strong Black business is different from building a strong white business or a strong Asian business or a strong Jewish business. Mainly because I think Black people, we have a unique community that has unique needs. And we also have specific ways that we have to approach it based on where we're at. You know, like, for example, if I know that I can go out and get a bank loan for $10 million, and I know that I've got uncles and aunties and cousins who run multi-million-dollar companies, I approach business ownership different from somebody who's got to rub two nickels together and make a fire. You know what I mean? Like, you know, or if I know if I'm dealing with family members that are all financially literate and all able to support my business and to keep me afloat, that's different from me dealing with family members who might be trifling or who don't understand anything about what I'm doing or might not be as supportive, or who get mad at me and make fun of me because I didn't go take that job at the post office, right? So basically this program, you know, is uniquely designed that way. And the first month is totally free. If you guys are interested, you can go to blackmoney103.com. That's blackmoney103.com. We give you 30 days to go through all, you know, dozens of hours of curriculum information and decide if you want to be there. And if you decide, you know, after 2 or 3 weeks that you don't want to do it anymore, you can go do something else. So, but don't act like there are not resources out here that can get you where you want to get to. Never ever say, and I want you to talk to this, speak on this, because I'm starting to preach. I need to stop myself. Like, never, I don't want to hear you say, like, I want to start a business, I just don't know how. What does that mean? Like, okay, it means you don't know how, but that should be a temporary state. Ignorance should never be permanent. Ignorance should not be permanent. Poverty doesn't have to be permanent. That's supposed to be.
It's a choice.
That's like me saying, I can't go to work today. I ain't got no clothes on. Like, that would sound stupid.
Right.
Somebody would say, boys, put some clothes on, then you can go to work. Right? But we get stuck in that state of rigor mortis where we're just like, I don't know what to do. Well, there are people that know what to do, and it doesn't. A lot of the resources are free, and if they do cost money, some of these things you can learn for less than what it costs you to go to the movies, less than what it costs you to get your hair done, less than what it costs you to buy a pair of shoes. All of that.
Time and money you have to invest in you. Nobody else is going to give it to you. And there's so many people that are like, well, I expect my employer, Abel, stop. I expect my employer to be the one to, to send me to the extra classes or to do that, or I'll get it on the job. I'll get it, later. Later is not okay. You can do something about it today. One story that I wanted to share that I always talk about is when I came out of undergrad, I made great money. I made about $50,000 as a 21-year-old, barely 21, like just turned 21, and worked for a Fortune 50 company. I had bonuses, I had responsibilities that was, great and rare for a 21-year-old. A year in, I decided I wanted to leave the company. I knew I wanted to get my MBA and go to law school because I wanted to eventually work for myself and build my own Fortune 50 company. And so when I told my family that I was leaving, my mom told me, oh, people don't leave jobs like that. We don't, those are the kind of jobs you retire from. That's a once in a lifetime thing. Why would you ever do that? And so I prayed about it. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I moved forward in my decision. And after I left, they announced that they were closing the plant that I was working at. Now I was upper management. I only had 2 other people over me there, but all the people that were there who depended on this job and thought that this is who I was going to retire from, and this is where all my extra, my money, my wealth, my income was coming from, got a sad awakening. They all had to have a plan B and figure things out. Now, those who sat in my office and who I coached into having a plan B, I've heard from them years later, and they're all good. It was the ones who were blindsided, and I didn't leave because I knew the plant was closing. I left because I knew I wanted more than to make millions for someone else.
Well, everybody, I'm talking to Nicole Taylor Compton, and it's spelled Nichole. Nicole Taylor Compton, she's an attorney, she's a business owner, she has an MBA. She's the youngest looking grandmother in America. She has 4 sisters who are valedictorians at her high school, and she actually had a child while she was young, but went on to become, a really successful. She ran for judge. Did you say twice you ran for judge?
I ran twice. I don't know that I would ever do it again. It was a serious lesson. I could write a book on the things that I learned.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you, but I was once engaged to a woman, and I remember when she went to a woman, right? Like I would never be engaged to a man. I would never be engaged to a man. So
not an alien, not an alien either.
What did you say? Not an alien.
Not an alien.
No men, no aliens. Black women,
okay.
Black women only. That's all I could ever procreate with. But anyway, I was engaged to this great woman who happened to be a lawyer, and I remember she ran for judge, and I really wanted to support. I think she ran twice. And I remember how crazy it was for her to raise money. I remember just the insane amounts of money that she had to raise.
Oh, that's a whole nother subject. I have people, hold on a second. Abel Taylor, stop. I have people who wouldn't give to the campaign, said they didn't believe in supporting politics. Some people said they didn't believe in voting. And then they would call me afterwards, and the same judges, I chose which judges I ran against because I felt like they were against not just Black people, but they weren't good judges, period. They weren't good people. And so I would have people that would say, oh, I don't donate to campaigns. They didn't understand how that worked. And I had people that said, oh, I'm not going to vote. And then afterwards, they would call my office and complain to me about, this judge said this from the bench about me doing blah, blah, blah. She was nasty. Or this judge unfairly imposed a bond on my son. And I'm thinking, you had the power, you had the chance, you had somebody willing and down to earth, and you wouldn't support. So it's almost the same like business, I can't do it, I don't know, but then, the repercussions later, it's too important and too great not to do it.
Well, it is kind of funny, when you talk about that, like us just kind of, whatever it is, whatever it is you're talking about that you want to be involved with, I would say that, you know, the just understanding that you can change your environment is really, really important. You know, some people might apply to politics and voting. Some people might apply to your economic situation. I think the biggest trap to fall into when it comes to wealth building anything is believing that you can't change your fate, that you can't change your life, you know, or your situation.
That's the
And I
biggest
think
lie.
that's a terrible trap to fall into, because it only leads to a lot of stress and depression, because you then start feeling like, well, what's the point? You know, in doing anything. And again, I see a lot of our people getting stuck in that. And what I would just
Right.
constantly try to tell people is that, you know, okay, that white man you work for is racist. Well, either find somebody else to work for, or go work for yourself. You know, that is, I do believe that it takes less energy. You know, I've done both. I filled out job applications and search for jobs, and I've also started businesses. I find that it's easier to start a business than it is to go fill out 30 or 40 job applications. I think they said it takes 30 to 40 job applications to get a job offer, like a decent offer.
Well, they said it's 1 month for every $10,000 that you plan on making. So if you want a job that's going to be worth 50,000, plan to job search for 5 months.
Oh my God.
There's ways to do, you know, to do it quicker, but it does it. I've had friends who have gotten laid off. But when you talk to them and you say, well, why don't you just start a business? Because honestly, you can turn your business, you know, into being profitable pretty quickly, depending on what you choose to do.
Yeah, I think everybody should have a side hustle. You know, whether you work for somebody or not, everybody should have a side hustle, because corporations will fire you in a minute. They don't care nothing about you.
Mm-hmm.
And also this idea, when you said 1 month for every $10,000, that means if I want to make 6 figures, let's say, because I'm a professional.
You're gonna be out for about a year. Hope you got a good savings.
Right, right. So you think about that. So if you work on a job for 10 months, you're working 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month. Over 10 months, that's 1,600 hours of hard labor you'd be doing for that company in 10 months. What if you put 1,600 hours of hard, consistent 9 to 5 labor into building something for your family? What are you gonna do? You're gonna do something amazing. I mean, that's a lot of time. That's like
Right.
being obsessed with something. Anybody
Well, and it's the law of seed and harvest. I mean, if you're planting, if you're actually working and you're actually educating yourself, executing, taking steps, networking, moving, you know, doing something productive every day for your business, in a year, if you don't have something, then you lied about the front end. You lied about what seeds you planted, because, you know, that kind of work, it has to pay off.
Well, you know, it's the same as how we produce, you know, really good basketball players, football players, and rappers. How do they become the best in the world? Because they spend thousands of hours rapping, thousands of hours
Practicing
playing
and doing
basketball.
it.
Right. So if you spend
Yep.
thousands of hours learning how to run a business, then you're going to be a good entrepreneur. And good entrepreneurs, you know, good basketball players don't usually make any money playing basketball. Good
Oh
entrepreneurs.
no, they make it for the institutions.
Well, even the best basketball players, most of them never make a penny playing basketball, because the NBA only got about 200 jobs that they can offer, you know, whatever the number is at any given time. So my argument is, if I have a choice between being like the top 10% of basketball players versus the top 10% of entrepreneurs, I choose entrepreneurship, not just because, I mean, sure, if I could be LeBron, I want LeBron's job, right? I would like to be the star of the Cleveland Cavaliers, but there ain't that many LeBrons out here. But there can be thousands of entrepreneurs all making millions of dollars, because that's where the money's at. Y'all chasing the wrong money.
Right.
The crazy money, the hard money. There's easy money out there too, or easier money. So okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you.
I got a couple more things. Well, I got a couple more things, because
go ahead, please.
You asked me to put together some nuggets, so I have some nuggets, and I don't want to leave without blessing everybody with them.
Lay your nuggets out, everybody. I want you to just tune in. I'm talking to Nicole Compton Taylor, or Nicole Taylor Compton, excuse me.
Sir.
Nicole Taylor Compton. She's an attorney and a business owner, and she's given us some thoughts on starting a business and being compliant with the law. Also, she's going to be at the All Black National Convention, so make sure you get your tickets at allblacknationalconvention.com. Please continue.
So before the grandbaby interrupted us and we took a different track, I was saying that it's better to have the end in mind. So you're not gonna, you know, if you are doing it on your own, you still want to have certain things written down on, this is how I run my business. So you need, you know, structure. But if you're doing it with more than one person, for certain, you need to have you need to have certain agreements and things like that already in place. And many times they try to convince us that you need to go get investors and use other people's money instead of coming up with your own. I'm on the fence about that. In some instances, yes. In most instances, no. However, you will not be able to always do everything alone. So 2 contracts that I think are 2 clauses in contracts that get left out that are so valuable, and some people don't even realize exist, are your non-disclosure agreements and your non-compete agreements. So your non-disclosure is, if I had a business idea and I wanted to bring it to you boys to see if you wanted to partner with me, having a non-disclosure means that whatever I talk to you about in my business, you can't go back to somebody else and be like, Nikki had this really great idea for this business. Let me tell you what it was, so that they don't try to beat me at my own business or with my own ideas. The other one is a sister contract or clause, and that's the non-compete. The non-compete says, okay, now that I've told you what my idea is, if you work for me or if we're negotiating an agreement and we don't come to an agreement or you cease working for me, you can't go out and become one of my competitors. You can't take my trade secrets or my way of doing things, or even if you come up with your own way of doing things, you cannot compete against me in the same market area. So different clauses say different things. They do have to have some kind of limitation geographically as well as temporally with time. But most people neglect because they want to be so friendly in the beginning, or in the beginning everything is friendly and everything is kosher, and then something goes wrong and then you're left exposed if you don't have these type of agreements. And just simple contracts. This is what we're doing. This is our intentions on what we expect to happen. And here's our worst case scenarios. And so when you hire attorneys or professionals, they're going to look at your business with the eyes of what is the worst possible thing that can happen, and let's contract around it. Let's protect you from it. Another issue that people have when they start businesses is after you've incorporated your business or after you've started your business, then what? And so staying in legal compliance, such as making sure that you have appropriate directors on your board, depending on what kind of business you have. If you have shares, did you issue share certificates correctly? Registration with tax entities. So registering your business with the IRS. Did you get an EIN number? Did you properly register with the state? And in Kentucky, in Jefferson County, which is Louisville, you have to register with the county, you have to register with the state, and you have to register with the federal government. And if you don't do it within so many days of starting your business, they're coming after you and they will impute income to you. So those are things you can't ignore once you start, but it's also why looking at what type of business formation you chose matters. And then two other things is, one, I have a lot of people who ask about trademarks, copyrights, and those kind of things. Educating yourself and knowing the difference. Knowing, one simple thing that most people don't know about trademarks. If you see the TM, that means somebody has an intent to trademark, but they may not have legally registered the trademark. If you see the R with the circle, that means they've legally registered that trademark. But either way, if you decide that you want to use it, such as like Facebook has trademarked Facebook and even Face. So if you have a company that's similar to them and you try to use those, they can easily come after you because you're infringing on their trademark. And so understanding some of those things, and not just, you see people who put the R in the circle, not really knowing what those mean. Those are simple things that you need to know when you start, when you choose your logo, when you choose your tagline, when you choose what the name of your company is going to be. And then lastly, one of the things that I wanted to hit on is almost every business nowadays has a website. You're not considered legit by the common person if they can't find your website. Side note, I don't recommend Facebook being your website, because Facebook can control what they want to control. And if they take you down and that was your website for your business, guess what? Now you're offline. So you really want to have your own domain, your own hosting, your own actual website. And if you do, one of the things that people do not pay attention to is the fact that you need to have your terms of service, your privacy policies, and other disclaimers on your website to make sure that you're legally in compliance and you're protecting yourself against other future lawsuits and disputes. So those are some of the things that I hope is taught in the Black School of Business, in the Black Business School. But those are definitely things that, you know, someone starting a business, it may be overwhelming. You don't have to worry all at once. You know, these are things that you think about in steps, but all of those are there to protect you. And that's why you, like I've been saying, you want to make sure that you hire a professional or at least get a mentor. If you cannot afford to get an attorney or to get a CPA, find someone who's doing something similar to what you're doing and have been in it for a while, and find out, you know, what obstacles and hurdles that they have to overcome and make sure that they knew. Because even attorneys don't know everything. A good attorney knows how to find what they need when they need it. You know, we're taught theories, we're taught how to research, and we're taught how to think to put the strategies, you know, and things like that together. But every attorney doesn't know everything about every subject. And the ones that tell you they do, those are the ones you need to run from. That means they know nothing.
Well, those are really powerful nuggets, you know, of information. And I encourage everybody to just, you know, realize that as a community, we've got experts like this all over the place. Y'all just don't see them on TV because everybody's paying attention to these rappers and stuff. But the fact is that we have Black experts all over that can help you do everything that you need to do, help you do it in a great way. And so people like Nicole Taylor Compton are in that category. So I want to say thank you, Nicole, for hanging out with us today. I really appreciate that.
No problem. I'm glad Minions finally came on. Minions was, I try to do educational shows, but Minions is what did it today. I'm excited for that.
But you know what? I'm gonna tell you what. Everybody who liked what they heard, and you can tell she knows that stuff. People like Nicole Taylor Compton will be at the All Black National Convention. She's going to be on one of the panels, along with tech expert Shaquita Graham, Dr. Tyra Selden, Dr. Roosevelt Mitchell III, Dr. Kevin Cosby, Jay Morrison, a very prominent real estate expert. And we're going to have hip hop artists as well. Just all different kinds of people from different walks of life that are going to come together and really talk about how we can build. So,
and we're doing it because we care. And I don't know about everybody else, but I don't bite, down to earth. And I want to see you succeed, because if my sister and my brother to my right and my left succeed, guess what? That means that I'm in good company, and it's going to raise me up. So.
Well, you know, and I think, you know, doing it because you care, I think is important. I think also the community has to care about you. You know, we got to get away from the charity model of Black business, where it's like, oh, well, if you care about Black people, you should do everything for free. Well, if you expect Nicole Taylor Compton to do everything for free, then you're telling her basically, I need your children to starve. I need you to go bankrupt. Well, you know, and then think about it, it's trifling because that same person will have spent, you know, $1,000 at white businesses, but we'll get to the Black person and expect them.
Oh, they've done. I've seen it in my business. I've started writing articles on that as well, because what you have is, it's disrespectful and they don't know it. People will call and say, well, I need to ask you a question. I have an attorney, I paid for this attorney, but they charge me for every single phone call. So can you answer this for free? Even my ringtone, my grandson sings it, even my ringtone says, my time, my mind are my merchandise. So every time you ask me for something, you're asking me to work for free, essentially, when nobody else wants to go to work for free. And you don't go to Kroger's or, you know, Publix and get a gallon of milk and say, let me get this. I'll hit you up later. Or you should give it to me for free because, you know, we friends. The store is going to call security really quickly, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, friends don't just take things from their friends. Friends offer things to their friends.
Right.
And money.
And there's a difference between bartering and begging, people.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right. Bartering's fine. You know, you offer something. You know, like if you come with your hand out, your hand should be out offering something. Your hand should not just be out trying to receive. And also, I talked to somebody about this today, and I'm gonna do a short video on it so you guys can know my thoughts. But I really actually said, you know, some of us are still what I would consider to be economic children. It's economic immaturity. Let me explain. Think about how a child thinks about money, right? If you give a child $50, they're not thinking, okay, I need to use this $50 to pay the rent, to pay, to pay for my education, or to pay for something that I need. They're like,
to save it for future.
Right. A child is thinking, I got $50. I can go buy me that new toy. I could go buy me some candy or whatever. And then when it comes time to pay for the important stuff, they expect mama and daddy to pay for that. Mama can, why are the lights out, mama? Like, can you pay you need to pay the light bill. I need some food, mama. Can you buy me some food? Right. So what they do is they will buy what they want, but then they expect other people to give them what they need. So if you look at, you translate that to adulthood, you have adult people where if they get an extra grand, they like, oh, I can go on vacation. I can go to the club. I can buy me some Jordans. I can get my hair done. And then when it comes to then that same person who just spent $300 on a hair weave, you say, well, we got this, there's a program that your child can really benefit from. It's going to cost $75. Oh, that's too much. I can't.
You don't have a scholarship?
Well, you're right. Can't y'all give scholarship? Because Black people ain't got nothing. We can't afford nothing while you sitting there with your $300 weave
and your Michael Kors purse.
Right, or whatever it is. Right. And so that's what we'll do. We will spend our money on what we want, and then we beg for what we need. And that's a type of
it affects what they need to understand is, especially if you are really pro-Black business or pro-business period, we're not the man. Most people try to steal from the man or try to get over on the man. I had one Christmas where my son said, Mom, can you not practice law and just get a real job so that I can have Christmas? Because I see you working all of these hours, but, we're struggling. And I had to change the way I did things. So then people thought, oh, she's only in it for the money and things like that. I've had an incident where I had a client who, I needed, please work with me on payments. And can you please help me out? And so when he got custody of his kid and $4,700 bill later, and that was with discounts, then he's like, oh, I can't pay. Well, can I do, $100 a week? And then he slacked off on that, but post on Facebook, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna, redoing the kitchen, trying to decide if I'm going to do, I'm trying to do the nice fridge. Do I want the wood grain with the, do I want the wood grain with the stainless steel, or do I want the TV on the front of the refrigerator? And not realizing at the same time, it's like somebody asking you to go to work all week and saying, you're going to work hard. You're going to make things extra great for this boss. You're going to go above and beyond, come in early, stay late, get their project done because it's going to make them look great. And then at the end of the week, they call you into their office and be like, yeah, we know it's payday, but we feel like you're only in it for the money. So we're not going to pay you this week. We might not pay you next week, but we expect you to keep working and coming in with a smile and wanting to do the best job ever. All right, get back to it. I mean, that's what you're doing to Black businesses. And then when they disappear, you're wondering why this attorney wants so much money up front, or why this business owner has cameras in their business, because we're not treating them, we're not looking at the human side of it. This is what they do for a living. They're not rich. All attorneys aren't rich. We just aren't. We're working and, doing what we have to do to feed our families. And we've spent years, with our expertise and learning and trying to make sure that we have the experience to get you what you want when we go to court or when we help you with your legal affairs. So it is about the money. It's about the people, but we got to be business smart.
Well, I mean, I think the best way to kind of look at it is, when you get up and you go to work every day, do you get up and go to work because you just want to be nice and do everything for free, or do you get up and go to work because you need the money?
You need it to eat.
The money does matter. It ain't always all about the money, but imagine if somebody just called you corrupt because, well, the only reason you get up and go to work is because you're getting the money. Well, you'd be like, yeah, because I got children to feed,
Right, because LG&E is not going to let me pay my bill, or for people who aren't in Louisville, LG&E is electricity. So the electric company is it will not allow me to pay my bill on your promise. I cannot go and eat a steak at J. Alexander's, and when the bill comes, say, hey, can I make payments on that?
Right.
I'll send you $5 this week, $5 next week, they'd all be out of business.
Right. So if Black people ever want to really obtain true respect and have some type of economic maturity, we have to be as dedicated to investing in the things we need as we are into buying the things we want. Money is not something that you just use for a feel-good moment because you want to feel good because you got your hair done or because you got the fly shoes or whatever it is. That's how a child thinks. A child uses their money in order to feel good. An adult uses their money to build, to get the things they need, build infrastructure, take care of other people. Like a real man, for example, a little boy will grow up into a man and he'll spend money on shoes before he takes care of his kids. Or he'll have a child and will allocate $50 for the baby and $300 to pay for the new girl that he wants to go see because he's going to get pleasure from that. Whereas, a real man is a person that says, I know I'm not going to get much. I'm going to, most of my check goes to taking care of my wife, my children, and my family, right? So that's a maturity thing, so a lot of us, unfortunately, are trained to be grown-up teenagers. So that's why, and they market to us like we're teenagers. That's why you see, if you watch BET or another network, you'll see all these ads that are designed to get Black people to spend money to look fly and to be fly. Because the fact is, at the end of the day, that white supremacy is going to swat you like a fly because you don't have any discipline. So I want to say thank you, Nicole Taylor Compton, for your time. I really appreciate it.
I always enjoy talking to you, boys.
Yes, it's always real. It's always awesome. So everybody, this is Nicole Taylor Compton. Do you have a website that people can find you
on? Right now it's I'm revamping. I do have NicoleCompton.com, but I have a few Facebook pages. I have one for my motivational speaking and book writing and things like that. All of my handles are either Nicole T. Compton or most of them are Nicole Compton. I think Instagram and Twitter, you can do @NicoleSaysSo, and Nicole has an H, but I'm pretty running for judge twice, being on TV 7 days a week. I'm pretty easy to find.
All right. Nicole Taylor Compton, she is an awesome attorney. She'll be at the All Black National Convention. So make sure if you haven't got your tickets, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. Get them online. Don't get them at the door because you get them